Hi, this is Daniel Hartz, host of the Sustainability Matters Today podcast. We have some exciting news. On June 22nd, we'll be changing the name of our podcast from Sustainability Matters Today to Sustainability Champions. The reason for the change is because the new name Sustainability Champions better captures what we're going for, highlighting the people, ideas, and innovations that are protecting and healing the planet. Thank you for your support and interest in our work so far. We look forward to producing high-quality podcast episodes and social media materials under the new name Sustainability Champions. Please join us in showcasing these incredible individuals and the great work they're doing. By the way, do you know a sustainability champion you'd like to nominate to be on the podcast? Reach out to me at daniel@sustainabilitychampions.com to let me know. Thank you very much. Now back to your regularly scheduled podcast. I'm joined by Louisa Ziane, co-founder and chief operating officer of Toast Ale. Thank you so much for joining me, Louisa.
Thank you for inviting me on. Great to chat.
Yeah, likewise. And the way I like to start these conversations is really just to kind of understand some background exactly of what it is that you're doing. So the question I like to ask is kind of a broad one, but what is the problem that Toast Ale and that you and the team at Toast Ale is solving?
So we're specifically tackling food waste, and that is because of the way that food is produced. Our food production system is responsible for 80% of deforestation, 70% of freshwater use, about a quarter of greenhouse gases. It's actually the biggest contributor to climate change and biodiversity loss. And yet we are wasting a third of everything that we produce. So we want to change that by tackling food waste specifically. If we can reduce food waste, then we reduce the impact on the planet of the production of that food in the first place. We also prevent it going to landfill where it would rot and generate methane and then further contributes to climate change. And also we're living in a world where there are a huge amount of people that don't have access to the nutrients that are needed through food. So it's a very unjust system. Yeah, so by reducing food waste, we're I guess critiquing the whole system.
It's an important issue to solve because it's like you say, I mean, it's crazy to think that there's food being wasted when there's so many hungry people and there's just so many problems associated with food waste.
Right.
First of all, the amount of energy, like you said, to grow it in the first place it's really intense. And then the distribution, and then after all of that, a third of it is just thrown away.
Yeah, exactly. And
you still have hungry people.
Right, yeah, and it's not even just energy. We're looking at water use, but also land.
Right.
And if you think about all of the land that is taken to grow the crops that we use to produce food, a lot of that land is coming from sensitive areas that are subject to deforestation. The monocultures growing on there that are devastating to the quality of soil health, etc. So by reducing demand for food production, by reducing food waste, we can also reduce the amount of land that we require and free up that land again so that it can be used for regenerative agriculture processes or to give it back to nature.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And so how on a more practical level are you actually reducing food waste?
So a very fun way of doing it.
Yes.
We're using beer. We're using craft beer. So we are focused specifically on bread. Bread is one of the most wasted food items, particularly in the UK, but in many other countries around the world as well. It's a staple that has a short shelf life and is produced in huge volumes, and so inevitably, and a lot of it ends up being wasted. In the UK, about 44% of everything that we produce is never eaten.
Crazy.
Yeah, and essentially bread is made with a grain, wheat, and beer is also made with a grain, barley, malted barley. So we're replacing a third of the barley that would otherwise be used in the beer with surplus bread. So as well as giving new life to that bread, and this is fresh bread. This is the bread that we use as the byproduct of the sandwich industry. It's the crust end of the loaf that doesn't get used to make sandwiches. So perfectly fresh, very abundant. If you think about how many sandwiches that we eat every day, for every single loaf, there are at least 2 slices, maybe 4, because the first slice is often not the right size either.
Right.
And so we're repurposing that into beer. We're also reducing our demand for barley, and barley is one of the biggest parts of the carbon footprint of a pint of beer. So by reducing our demand for virgin barley, we're also reducing the footprint of a beer.
Wow. Okay. So there are lots of benefits there. And where exactly do you get the bread from? I mean, are you partnering with like bakeries?
Yeah. So at the moment we're working with one big sandwich manufacturer. They produce sandwiches for retail, hospitality, hospitals, universities, etc. And they, on their production line, they segregate the crust ends, and they send those to us while the vans are out on the road delivering the sandwiches. They bring a pallet of the bread to the brewery for us to process.
Oh, that's really cool. And I guess another benefit actually of that is also just it sounds like food miles are reduced, because if you need to import barley, or if you're growing barley from far away.
Yeah, I mean, most barley, we grow a lot of barley in the UK. So the importing of the ingredients is less of an issue. But we do also collaborate with breweries all over the world. We made a decision quite early on that we didn't want to be exporting what is essentially really water all around the world, when there is a plentiful supply of surplus bread. In most places, the craft beer industry has grown all around the world, and there are people brewing every day. And then there are also like charities that could benefit from the support. So whenever we collaborate internationally, we brew with a brewer in that country, using the source of bread from that country as well.
That's really cool. That's a nice way to, I mean, first of all, you're not exporting, and also there's food waste everywhere. It's not like
Absolutely, yeah.
the UK is the only place where bread is wasted.
Yeah. And the other element to toast is essentially it's a message in a bottle. We wanted to engage people in the issue of climate change and biodiversity loss, but in a very accessible and non-preachy way. And so by enabling people to just have a pint, enjoy a beer with friends, family, and learn a tiny little bit about the issue, they're already doing something positive by drinking the beer, both because of the circular approach that we use to use surplus bread, but also all of our profits go to a charity that is looking to fix the food system.
Wow.
And then, if they can then learn a little bit that maybe has a ripple effect through their lives, maybe that changes other behaviors, maybe they share that message with the communities around them, and we can hopefully raise the awareness of the issues, but also the delicious solutions to this problem.
It's amazing how you can get so creative when you start looking for solutions. There's so many ways to find innovative solutions, for lack of a better word, to a lot of the issues that we're facing. And there's almost like no reason for food waste or for new plastic, like virgin plastic.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and part of that is raising awareness and being transparent about those sources of surplus in the system, or those sources of waste, so that people who are entrepreneurial can see that as an opportunity to create something from it. And so I think the current movement of lots of businesses finding really creative ways to address a problem magnifies that. And I think we'll exponentially see some really inventive ways of reusing what would otherwise be wasted.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think we're already seeing it. So, in terms of on that topic, how I'm just really curious to know how many like slices of bread goes into one bottle or a pint.
It works out about a slice of bread per bottle.
Okay, so each loaf can make anywhere between 2 to 4 bottles.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, that's cool. It's
and then sandwiches for all of the slices that would sit in the middle.
Exactly. So
you can eat most of the loaf and then drink the rest of it.
Great. What a great way to enjoy a loaf of bread. And what was that nonprofit you mentioned? So first of all, Toast is a nonprofit.
No, so we're a limited company. So
Okay.
we're a social enterprise. So we make profits in the same way as any other business.
Right.
And the difference with a social enterprise is that you use at least 50% of those profits to support a social mission. And that is by either reinvesting in whatever it is that the business is doing as a social benefit, or by donating that to a charity or other organisation, like a foundation that is doing that. We've gone one step further and said that we want 100% of our distributable profits to go to a charity. We recognise that we can have an impact ourselves by upcycling surplus bread, but the systemic problems that need addressing can't be done by us alone, and some of them are very complex that need to be fixed at a government policy level and across whole industry practices. And so we our profits and when we're not making profits, we commit also 1% of the revenue, so whichever is the higher of those figures, go to a charity called Feedback, and they set up about 10 years ago now. They're probably the charity that brought food waste to the forefront of people's awareness.
Oh, wow.
Tristram Stewart, who also founded Toast, founded that charity off the back of work that he'd been doing, looking at the food system and food waste in particular. They've changed a lot of government policy within the UK and pushed for changes across industry practices, from encouraging supermarkets to measure and report food waste, through to holding huge public events in very prominent city centres where they're called Feed in the 5,000. They feed 5,000 people with a meal using ingredients that would otherwise have been wasted, and use that as a tool to engage people in the topic and get people to as citizens to come together and to demand broader change. So we put our profits into the work that they're doing to drive those bigger systemic changes.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, that kind of, like you're saying, the systemic changes are things that I suppose happen a bit slower because they're so much bigger and significantly more complex. But
Right.
you need to constantly. It's sort of like this process that you have to have a lot of stamina for it. It's an endurance. So being able to continuously support and fund charities that are able to actually make those systemic changes little by little, I think it's a really important part.
Right. Yeah. And even from the bread side, we recognise that we are a very small company. We're a team of 10 people, and we've grown significantly since we launched 4 years ago. But we are still tiny in terms of the impact that we can have. So we want to engage the whole industry to work with us, and we, as a result, do a lot of collaborations to help brewers to first of all access the surplus bread, just to know where to get it and how to protect it. Obviously, there are lots of food safety considerations around the movement and processing of any ingredients.
Right.
And then the technical challenges of brewing with bread. It is a slightly different format than a typical grain that brewers are used to working with. So we've collaborated with over 50 breweries.
And is this around the world?
Yeah, around the world. We've got one at the moment in Holland that's just launched last week.
Cool.
With a brewery called De Molen. The beer itself is called People and Planet, and it's available through online stores, picnic online stores, through to we've done collaborations in Australia, South Africa, Iceland, the US as well. So yeah, all over the world.
Quite a range.
And then we open source our recipe online as well, so that people at home who are interested in home brewing, and maybe more people now, if more people are going to be home for a while, will be interested in gaining a new skill. That recipe is on the website so that everybody can have a go.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. I mean, it's interesting that you've chosen not to make it secret.
Yeah, I think that has been our approach from the very beginning. It wasn't our original idea. Tristram had met some brewers in Brussels, a brewery called the Brussels Beer Project, who'd created a beer called Babylone that uses surplus bread from their local bakery.
All right.
And he connected the idea of this beer with a global problem, of the global problem of food waste and the rise of the craft beer industry as a way of leveraging awareness and action. And yeah, he has a broad network all around the world that can help to facilitate this. So the idea for us came from them, but the idea for their beer, as the name suggests, came from ancient Babylonian times.
Right.
The original way of producing beer was actually to ferment bread, and they created what was called a divine drink that probably tasted more like a porridge, not the delicious craft beers that we enjoy today, but it was the very origins of brewing. And so bread and beer are very inextricably linked going back.
Yeah, I think that's cool. And it's interesting because the more people I speak with when it comes to the different ways that, companies and people can be sustainable, oftentimes it really is just about going back to the way it used to be. We had to kind of go up in terms of our capabilities of technology in order to realize actually we don't need some of these, or we can reuse our technology in order to go back towards the way things were.
Yes, yeah.
And in a way, Toast Ale is doing that by providing your recipe online, and so anyone can get access to it. And with all of the modern brewing processes, anyone can really do it at home if they want to.
Yep. Yeah, you can quite easily buy a homebrew kit, and the ingredients are fairly simple. It's malted barley, hops, water, and yeast. That's all that's needed to produce a beer. And then using the toast recipe, any leftover bread that you have at home can be included in that as well.
Yeah, that's cool. So how much up to this point, how much bread have you saved, or what's the impact of the work done so far?
So for last year, 2019, we recently just published our impact report, and we've saved just short of a million slices, 850,000 slices. The 2 years prior to that, the 3 years prior to that, starting off from being very small to growing, we'd saved over a million slices. So we're kind of reaching towards the 2 million slices to date.
That's awesome.
Yes. So I think it works out it's almost 3 times the height of Everest. I think it works out about 2.7 times the height of Everest.
2 million slices of bread.
Yeah, if you stack them up as one gigantic loaf,
wow,
it would tower over Everest.
Almost 3 times as much. That's incredible. What a great visual. It's really hard to understand what exactly 2 million slices of bread looks like.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
Wow, that's literally a mountain of food waste that you've
It
saved.
literally is. Yeah.
How cool is that? I mean, that's amazing. And it sounds like you're really just getting started and the momentum is really starting to pick up now.
Yeah, hope so. Hope so. This year is obviously going to be an extremely challenging year for us and others, but we will, keep brewing as long as people can keep drinking the beer.
Yeah. Well, good news about alcohol is you consume it when things are good and when things are not so good. So
Yeah. Well, we hope we can also bring a little bit of cheer into people's lives. I'm sure lots of people are feeling very anxious at the moment, but we hope to help people to maintain the mental health through by offering some light relief at times.
yeah, I think it's really important and a great way to do it. As far as taste, is there any difference, or is it probably an unfair question to ask, but is it much better than all the other beer available?
It is my favourite.
That's good.
It stands up against other craft beers. It's a really good tasting beer. We've won awards for the taste of the product. We have 4 SKUs. We've got a craft lager, a session IPA, an American pale ale, and an English pale ale, and each of them has won Great Taste Awards.
Cool. Congratulations.
And International Beer Challenge Awards as well. So we're really proud of the taste. I don't think you can really taste the bread in it, but you taste with all of your senses. And so when you know that the beer is made with bread, it probably influences a little bit of your perception of the taste.
Yeah,
there are so many complex flavors within beers. There is a whole skill to tasting beer in the same way as with wines. And so I think like when you know there's bread in there, you can pick out some of those toasty flavors.
So I've tried I think it was the American Pale Ale and the craft lager. And personally, I'm not a big fan of pale ale in general. I liked yours.
Oh, great.
The lager was really good. And you're absolutely right. I wasn't being very careful with the flavor, meaning I wasn't like trying to see if I could taste the bread. I was just enjoying it.
Yeah.
And it's great. I mean, it tastes like good beer.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
it's really refreshing as well. I love lagers. I don't like too much hops. So
Right.
it was just like the perfect beer that you'd want. That's simple, straightforward, and just good. It's like,
oh, that's so lovely to hear.
yeah, it was really nice. And I love the fact that it comes in a bottle too. Although you can get cans, right?
Yeah, we bottle, we can, and we also put our beer into steel kegs that are reusable. They go to mostly pubs,
Yeah.
but some restaurants have taps, and also Waitrose they launched
Nice.
Unpacked
Yeah.
last year, and have a whole range of products that are available without packaging. You can buy a growler, which is a refillable bottle, a 5-litre bottle, and go and fill up at Waitrose now as well. Our mission really is about using up as much bread as possible, which means producing lots of beer, but also spreading awareness of food waste as an issue to a lot of people. And we didn't want it to be a niche product that you had to be really into your hops to enjoy. We wanted people to be able to drink it, enjoy it, remember it maybe for the message as well as the product, enjoy it again, share it with friends.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I mean, with something like this where you're really trying to make the biggest impact going mainstream as far as flavors makes sense. Because if you are really niche, then it kind of defeats the purpose, because you can only make so many bottles of beer at a time.
Yeah, and so it is quite a different taste still to, like, if you're used to drinking some of the big, huge
Yeah.
lager brands, it's still a different taste. We do use hops, so it is slightly hoppy. But yeah, for a craft beer, it is quite an accessible drink. And we quite often have people similar to, as you were saying, who say they don't really even like beer, and they've maybe tried it at an event, and they liked it.
Yeah.
So we're also hoping that we're a gateway drink to beer more generally. People that are maybe trying a toast because they're passionate about some of our ethics, our environmental mission, and then enjoy it. So want to try the craft beers as well.
Yeah, I think that's cool. That's actually exactly how I came across toast. Was at an event in London. It was a climate cocktail club event,
Oh yes.
and yeah, they were handing out. Actually, in that case, I think it was also bottles. Now that I think about it, and I had no idea, and the word toast was on it, which I thought was very clever, and I wasn't really sure what that was all about. And so I started reading the label, and I thought, oh wow, how cool is this?
Uh-huh.
And yeah, it was a good beer, and yeah, it's great. I've kind of made a mandate at home, which is if possible, we're only going to buy toast ale, just because
Oh.
it's a great beer. It's really easy to drink, and I know that every single time I buy it, I'm saving at least 6 slices of bread. If
That's
it's a
so
six
cool.
pack,
That's
yeah.
so cool. Well, we've just taken the delivery charge off the website.
Ah,
So you can have it delivered to your home for free if you would like.
brilliant. Well, I may have to stock up. That's so cool. So what's next? You've done 2 million slices. What are the next plans?
So we've been working on our environmental footprint to try and maximise the positive impact that we can have by
Yeah.
using more bread in the product. We've also been looking at our packaging and trying to remove plastics
Hmm.
from our outer cases. So the bottles are packed for trade in cases of 12, quite tightly packed, wrapped in a plastic to prevent breakage.
Right.
But we've now moved those fully over to cardboard boxes. So we're just in the process of monitoring those and making sure that we don't have a whole load of breakages. But I think
Hmm.
we've achieved that goal already.
Excellent.
So yeah, that's our kind of internal improvement. We're a certified B Corp. I don't know if you know very much about the B Corp movement.
I've been learning a bit about it. Yeah, it's
Oh,
fascinating.
cool. Yeah, so it's essentially businesses that meet minimum standards of environmental and social responsibility, accountability, and transparency. Businesses that are essentially trying to be the best for the world rather than the best in the world.
Hmm.
And we are, part of the community of businesses that includes large companies like Danone. There are some Unilever brands like Pucker and Ben and Jerry's that are B Corps, and lots of really cool smaller brands as well,
Wow.
like Divine Chocolate, Propercorn, Ella's Kitchen,
Hmm.
loads of really, really cool brands. And it is a very supportive community. So we are working with many of them now to look at how we can help each other through the situation we're facing, and have it, over the years that we've been certified, worked with different B Corps on various things from marketing to kind of internal culture development. We also joined over 500 B Corps at the end of last year to make a commitment to net zero by 2030.
Wow.
And so we are working on our plan as to how we'll achieve that, both by reducing the direct emissions for us as a business and our supply chain, and then looking at how we drive broader change across different industries in order to magnify the positive impact that we're having.
On a more kind of personal level, I'd like to ask this question kind of as an inspiration, but what do you do personally on a day-to-day basis, whether it's at home
Oh.
or at work, to be environmentally friendly when you're not busy saving Mount Everest summit slices of bread from being thrown away?
Oh, I mean, I guess I've tried to do everything that I can from, making sure that I'm not wasting food at
Hmm.
home, either through preserving that food or through making things or freezing. Um, and yeah, just making sure that even if I do have food waste, I have a wormery in the garden, so
Oh, cool.
anything like tea bags and banana skins can go into that. I don't really buy a lot of clothes. I try to buy ethical brands if I need something, but I am pretty thrifty in terms of what I spend my hard-earned cash on.
Yeah.
And then, I guess from the financial perspective as well, I recently looked at where my money was sitting and like where my pension was invested,
Mm.
and have made some changes to those things as well. So I guess they're the kind of practical things. I don't fly, but that was a little bit influenced by the fact that I hate flying and I'm terrified by it. But it does have the knock-on effect of being better for the planet.
Sure.
But we travel quite a lot by train as a family, and really enjoy that. And then I guess the beyond those practical things, it's just like I've got 2 kids, and so talking to them about the world and making them appreciate nature, both by going out and walking in the forest. I live near Epping Forest, so
Oh,
taking them
beautiful.
out. And yeah, we watch like the nature documentaries. David Attenborough is a popular man in this house.
Yeah, cool.
So yeah, I guess as kind of trying to educate them so that they grow up to be responsible citizens as well.
I think that's really important. It is, passing the knowledge down to the next generation is, I think, a crucial aspect, and it's really a very important one, and to make sure that the efforts that we're currently taking to be more environmentally friendly are continued. Because if
Yeah,
it's,
absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah, and I felt like I had that upbringing as well. My I was brought up vegetarian, and
okay,
so I've just been vegetarian all my life, and my kids are also vegetarian. It was never really an issue for me. I don't actually have a taste for meat really,
hmm.
but yeah, it's kind of much easier. As with anything, if you teach kids when they're young and explain to them why, that they grow up, they can make their own decisions about things, but they've got that foundation to work from.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess the point is not to, and that's kind of what you're saying is, take your time with it. I think it's more important to find something that you'll stick to rather than trying to change everything all at once and then try to juggle it and be like, well, this is
Yes.
impossible. I'm never going to do it again.
Yeah.
It's obviously much more effective. But yeah, I think I really like your list. It's awesome. And I think the work that you're doing with Toast is great as well. The name is puntastic,
Yeah.
which is always a plus. So yeah, I mean, thank you very much for your time and for spending this hour with me, Louisa. So you mentioned that that it's currently in a few pubs, at the Hilton hotels. Where else can people find it?
Yeah, if you go to toastale.com,
Hmm.
we've got if you go and look at where you can buy the beer,
Hmm.
there's a stockist map and a list of places there. And we also have our web shop. So if people at the moment can't get out to buy or can't go to their local pub, bar, restaurant, etc., then they can have it delivered to their door for free.
For free. That's the key part there. That's really awesome. So, oh yes, and Ocado. Yeah, I'm looking at the map right now. There's a lot of little pins all over it. So, really not. Uh, there's no excuse to not get it. It's all
Yeah,
over the place, which is
exactly.
fantastic. Well, that's great. So toastale.com, and toast is spelled the way you think it is. Cool. Well, Louisa, again, thank you so much for your time. It was a lot of fun. Best of luck with the future plans. You have so much going on, and I hope you're able to accomplish all those things in record time.
Thank you. Thanks. It's been really nice chatting.
Thank you very much for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed it, give us a 5-star review. And also, subscribe, whether on your podcast app or on YouTube. That way you can be the first to know about new episodes. Thank Thank you very much, and talk to you soon.